Good morning. We will start shortly. We are in need of a quorum, and it just arrived. So give us 3 or 4 more seconds, and thank you for your patience. Well, good morning. It is now 9 a.m. in the Brazos County Commissioners Court, and we will call to order a special workshop. And we will have a presentation discussion of compensation and benefits study by Siegel, consultant for Brazos County. At this time, we welcome
I'll
Jennifer
start it.
Salazar with
Yes.
HR to the podium.
Thank
Jennifer,
you.
thank you this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. As you know, this workshop marks an important milestone in Brazos County's compensation and benefits study. The HR team and the Siegel Project team have been hard at work since the end of August, laying the groundwork to ensure that we start off strong. Special thank you to IT app admins for helping us get data out of Oracle because we needed a lot of it, and it was not easy to get it out of there. To department heads and elected officials, thank you. We truly appreciate your time and participation this morning. The insight and feedback that y'all provide, whether in this workshop or throughout the week in your one-on-one meetings, will be essential to help guiding this project and ensuring that the final recommendations accurately reflect the value of the work that all of our employees do every day. To give a quick overview of what this project is all about, as we know, Brazos County is at a critical point. Our current pay system, which was built years ago on the group and step charts, no longer provides the structure or the flexibility that we need to be able to pay our employees consistently or accurately. And we know there are areas where inconsistencies exist and maybe pay has fallen behind. And unfortunately, identifying the issue isn't enough. We need a plan. This study is that plan. It's about building a solid foundation so that we can move forward with purpose, fairness, and accountability. Here's what this project will do. Develop clear job classifications so we know exactly what each position entails and how roles compare both inside and outside the county. Create a market-based pay structure using up-to-date data from comparable counties and organizations to ensure our pay plan is fair and competitive. Lay the groundwork for pay equity, giving us the tools to identify and correct disparities based on job duties. Include a comprehensive benefits evaluation to understand the full value of what we offer to our employees. and identify opportunities to strengthen our benefits for recruitment and retention purposes. And finally, the study will provide a long-term framework for consistent, transparent, and equitable pay decisions that is supported by a performance management component, which we all know is essential to setting goals, holding employees accountable, and being able to reward our high performers as well. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our partners from Siegel, who will be leading us through today's workshop. They'll walk us through the project approach, the timeline, and help answer any questions that any of y'all may have. So thank you again for being here. I'll go ahead and turn it over to TL with Siegel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me. She covered everything. What else is there to say? Thanks for having us here, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to present in this format. I think it's cool. Everybody's going to hear a consistent message about what it is that we're here to do, and I think most importantly, the critical role that employees throughout the county are going to have to inform the results of our analysis. So that said, we want to go through a bit about who Siegel is, introduce ourselves as a company. From there, cover the county's objectives of the project and how we at Siegel will partner with the county to achieve those objectives. Spend a bit of time discussing the methodology, the deliverables, and then go through some frequently asked questions so that we can both set and manage expectations and put to bed any concerns people may have about the type of analysis or study that we're conducting. So for those who may not have heard of Siegel, we are a fairly large firm to have remained independent and privately held over the past 85 years or so. We've got offices throughout the country, about 1,100 employees, and my colleague Deeksha, who's here with me, we work in what we call our Compensation and Career Strategies practice, or CCS, and that's about 60 employees who do job architecture, market studies, performance management, that kind of thing, and we do it in a lot of different industries and verticals. So we have a group that works with higher education. Deeksha and I, of course, work with the public sector. We've got a group that works with corporate organizations and nonprofit, a team that does executive compensation. So studies similar to what Brazos County has asked Siegel to provide is really what we do day in and day out. And at any given point, we probably have about 200 open client projects. So we're very reputable, and we anticipate taking that knowledge and the methodology that we have, pairing that with what we learn from the county and your workforce to do a really customized and tailored analysis to achieve the objectives that Jennifer just outlined. So, we've got a pretty extensive market presence throughout Texas. I grew up in Texas. This is where I learned to do class and comp. Deeksha lives in Austin, so we're very proud of the market presence we have here and are eager and appreciative to add Brazos County to that list as well. So the objectives, these were just covered at a fairly high level, but I encourage you to think about them really as three buckets, okay? The first bucket is internal, the second bucket is external, and the third bucket is, okay, now that we've got this new system that achieves recruitment and employee retention and employee development, how do we administer it going forward? And so that's really what we're going to set out to achieve. And so internal to the county, you want to make sure jobs are clearly identified, that that we and you both have an understanding of what employees are actually doing, and that the content of that job is consistent, it's objective, and it gives you the ability to measure in a fair and consistent way jobs against one another. From an external perspective, it's really about the competitiveness of your total compensation and identifying areas where you may be misaligned with market and understanding what does it take to get there. And then administratively going forward, making sure that this investment you're making not only in our contract, but the time your workforce is putting into filling questionnaires, the time that your peer agencies are spending getting us good data for analysis, that you're keeping it up to date going forward. And so it really is about accuracy, equity, and then market sensitivity of that classification and compensation program, okay? We do like to spend a bit of time discussing kind of what's included and what's not included. And I encourage you to think about these factors as a job basis and an individual basis, okay? In a classification and compensation study, we want to evaluate the job, not the individual in that position, okay? And so when we're building the system, we're looking at job-based criteria. And so you can see those on the left, you know, the minimum qualifications, the essential function or the nature of the duties, supervision, right? You know, that internal comparative analysis we'll talk about, you know, how do the jobs compare against one another? You know, are the factors that we're looking at when evaluating and looking at a job in finance versus a job in IT versus a job that's in the constable's office, right? You know, are the factors that we're using to compare such vastly different positions, are they clear, are they easily understood by staff, and are they measurable? And so all of that is job-based criteria. So we'll build the new system, both that internal comparative analysis and the market data that we collect will inform how many pay structures do you need and how do we define those pay structures to be responsive to market trends. And then once we've built that structure, we then talk about individual or incumbent-based variables to say, now that we have these new ranges, what's a meaningful way to take employees and move them into those ranges? So again, to be very clear, building the system is reliant on job-based characteristics. Implementing the system is then where we look at the individual incumbents within the roles, okay? So don't know how well you can see on the screen up there with the font, but moving from left to right, the project initiation phase, this is where we requested mountains and mountains and mountains of data from your HR and IT teams. They were extraordinarily responsive. We reviewed that information and have had a number of meetings to clarify some of the data that we got. And the goal of that initiation phase was really twofold. One, we wanted to prepare to be on site with you this week. We've got a number of meetings scheduled individually with, you know, key staff throughout the county. But beyond that, we wanted to broadly communicate what it is that we're doing so that we're being appropriately transparent and upfront about what are the objectives and how are we at Siegel going to meet those objectives. From there, we're going to do both the second and third phases simultaneously. That's the classification study. That's that internal bucket we talked about, right? That's where we document, where we analyze, and where we evaluate positions, ultimately defining that new job architecture or classification structure. While that's going on, we'll be working with the peer organizations to benchmark your total compensation against their offerings. And so those are being done simultaneously to meet the schedule that we've outlined with the county. So there's going to be a lot of work taking place really over the next few months, both internal to the county and external to Siegel. Recommendations development, or where we take those two inputs and put them together. So, you know, oversimplifying here, but did I put a job in grade 6 internally? And does the market say that job needs to be in grade 8? If so, there's a discrepancy there, right? So did we undervalue internally the knowledge and skills? Did we undervalue internally the human collaboration responsibilities? Or did we maybe not do an accurate external match? And so the recommendations development are where we take those two and blend them and come up with recommendations that balance both of those goals, being internal equity and external market competitiveness. And finally, of course, present final results, transfer all the study documentation to the county so that you've got the ability to maintain it going forward. In that recommendations development section is where we're also going to refine your performance development process, okay? So the key deliverables, again, the top section is that internal bucket. It's, you know, a really deep understanding of what employees are doing. You know, we believe those that are closest to the work are the ones best positioned to explain to us what are jobs responsible for. So there's an extensive questionnaire process that's going to inform that internal analysis that will include, of course, modified job descriptions, you know, job architecture, and ultimately a tool for you to evaluate changes in jobs going forward. So that's the internal piece or the classification structure. Externally, total compensation market comparison. So base salary ranges, benefits, PTO, that sort of thing. New, I would say modernized salary structures from what we've seen based on evaluating your existing architecture. You've got some opportunities to improve how you structure pay and how you administer that pay going forward. Again, implementation guidelines to accurately administer what we've recommended and then the performance development process as well. So we do have in this presentation, it's the same presentation we'll be giving to employees throughout the week. I don't want to necessarily get into it with you here today, but the key takeaway for this workshop is there's going to be extensive employee involvement to inform Siegel what are jobs that Brazos County responsible for. So that questionnaire is going to be sent out to staff. The review of that questionnaire is also going to be sent out to staff. So when we're meeting individually with department heads and elected officials, one of the things we're going to emphasize is this is not the avenue for performance management feedback, right? This is for you to provide feedback on what is a job responsible for. And this, I can't emphasize this enough. So there's credibility in that process. If I report to Deeksha when she does my review, I'm going to get a copy of Deeksha's feedback. So everybody is going to be on the same page regarding what are these jobs responsible for so that everybody understands what is it that we at Siegel are analyzing and evaluating, okay? So there's a timeline you can see here. Questionnaires are going to be completed over roughly a 1-month period. With the staff, we'll actually get into the job description questionnaire and do a demo, show them how to navigate it, show them some of the errors that they may receive if they don't accurately complete a page. Again, not necessary for the workshop, but there will be a review of the questionnaire with staff. And from a frequently asked questions standpoint, again, we have these documented. I don't think we necessarily need to go through them, but I do want to hit a few high points. One, the study is really about understanding what are staff doing, documenting those key functions, minimum qualifications in the form of new class specifications, and comparing that to market. That study is first and foremost built on employee involvement. The questionnaires that employees will complete are the foundation for every other step in our analysis. We understand that completing this is going to be time consuming, so both we at Siegel and HR are going to schedule some meetings throughout this process to make sure folks feel supported in filling out the critical questionnaire that we'll be distributing. And finally, again, because there is a review process, we wanted to be transparent about the fact that employees at every level are going to see the feedback. We understand that not everyone is going to agree on the content of a job. And what we've indicated here is don't have to necessarily agree, right? We keep supervisory feedback separately. The supervisor is not able to actually physically change what the employee said. So we at Siegel and at HR are going to have a universal view of what a job really is responsible for. And when needed, we may flag some jobs or some incumbents for follow-up interviews or focus groups or things like that. So the real key takeaway there is there's going to be extensive involvement, updates at appropriate points throughout the process, that kind of thing. And finally, when's the study going to be completed? Right now, we are scheduled for completion in the first quarter of 2026. So organization your size with the level of involvement that we have internally and externally, it's an aggressive timeline. And so first and foremost, we will encourage employees and supervisors meet the timeline for that questionnaire, because as I mentioned previously, that perspective from the workforce, sharing what you believe jobs are responsible for in that questionnaire really is the foundation for what we do, okay? So that's really kind of the key parts of my presentation. Maybe some questions here, so open the floor for any questions or comments, Judge and Commissioners, y'all have.
Well, TL, thank you so much. Commissioners, any questions right off the bat?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Brown?
There's one sentence in here about Siegel that gives me pause, and it says, "We have served as trusted advisors for many public sector entities, including several throughout Texas." So my concern is, are we going to be compared with New York, California, Wyoming, Montana? I mean, there's places where the pay scale is dictated on the cost of living. And the cost of living in Texas is low compared to New York and other states. So that's my question. Who are you going to compare us to?
Excellent question. So first of all, I want to emphasize, that's y'all's decision. It would be inappropriate for us to come in and say, we're just going to use data that we already have and recycle that information, right? We don't do that. What we do is a custom analysis. So your organization will specify the entities to which we compare your salaries to.
Have you done this with any other counties within Texas?
We have.
You
And
have.
so that's
What counties are they?
Travis County is a recent client
Okay.
that we completed. Deeksha and I are actually working with the city of Austin right now. We're working with the city of Kyle right now. If you're familiar with Dallas Area Rapid Transit, DART, they're a client. So, we've got a very extensive market presence here. And in all of those studies, we don't recycle information. We ask you to tell us, what agencies do you want us to compare you to?
Okay.
Now, that said, even within Texas, there are going to be differences. And you said cost of living, I'm going to say cost of labor, because those two things are a little different. The cost of labor in Harris County is going to be different than it is in Brazos County. The cost of labor in Travis County is going to be different. And so we will still apply geographic indices, even internal. Let's say you limit your market just to Texas. We'll apply geographic indices so that we're doing accurate apples to apples cost of labor comparisons, because those variations that you talked about with California, New York, and Wyoming, those variations exist even within Texas too, just not to the same extent. But we'll do geographic differentials to normalize that for you as well.
Good, thank you.
Excellent question.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown.
I don't have a question.
Commissioner Watson,
No, I'm waiting to see how it goes.
thank you. Commissioner Collins.
Now you covered everything I wanted to ask.
I hope
Judge,
it's not,
how about you?
I hope it's not that easy.
No,
No,
it's not.
my question was similar to Fred's, is a comparison, which I appreciate that, and we'll want to give direction to that.
Correct, and
for
I
the
like
same reasons.
cost of labor versus cost of living.
Yes.
We realize it's going to take a lot of data and a lot of analysis and working with our team. And as you can see, our entire team is here in the audience today, and I love that they're engaged. And so I'm looking forward for you and your team to get with our team to get us those results by, was it December?
First quarter 26.
No, first quarter in 26, we'll have the results, but you'll have all the data
By December.
accumulated by December. Is that the
That's
word?
one way of looking at it. I
Okay.
don't want to promise that from the peer agencies, because we have less control over whatever organizations y'all define. But certainly internally, yes, we'll have what we need to begin that documentation, analysis, and evaluation of the jobs. Absolutely.
And we're starting today.
You are well, we in HR started a long time ago, but yes, y'all are starting today. Yes,
I
sir.
love it.
I
Yes,
do
sir.
have one question.
Commissioner Watson.
So we were talking about the cost of labor. One of the things that and Jennifer may have already talked about that, as Fred was talking about, what are we being compared to? The difficulty in Bryan College Station is that I sort of disagree, or maybe he and I are thinking in different terms. The cost of living in Bryan College Station is not, especially College Station, is a little bit high in terms of housing and that kind of thing. But one of the things that I know that we have sort of looked at is because of the job market in Bryan College Station, you have both cities, and then of course you have the university there. And so what we have found, and Jennifer may have already talked about this, we're not necessarily competitive in terms of ability to hire. So we also are up against that. No matter however the job descriptions come out and the job performance and whatever you create, the cost of hiring may be influenced by those outside forces, and I don't know if that is taken into consideration or not, or if that's something that we have to do when we're thinking about making hiring, which we already kind of sort of do, when we know that we're having difficulty hiring in some positions just because the market dictates the salary.
So there's a lot in there. Excellent point. So I think one, it's important to acknowledge jobs just move differently in the market, right? IT, finance, legal jobs have moved at a more rapid pace than other positions. And so some of those inability to hire positions may be isolated to some of those specific job families. If it's broader overall, I think that just points to the need for a more modern system like what we discussed earlier. From a cost of labor standpoint, we actually rely on reputable indices provided and you can go out to the website. It's the Economic Research Institute, or ERI. They update their data, I believe now every 6 weeks. So, the oldest cost of labor data you would have is like from a month and a half ago. So, they update the data every 6 weeks, and you actually pull an index, and it's going to show, and it is precise enough to say, okay, is there a cost of labor difference between Bryan and College Station? And so it'll actually show those matrices, and that's what we'll use to normalize the data that we get. Again, going back, Commissioner, to your question, to whatever organizations y'all define for comparisons.
Commissioners, Conderly? No further questions. I will say this. You have a fully engaged Commissioners Court.
Yep.
You have 20-plus department heads and elected in the audience. We are all excited about this compensation and benefits study because we do need a fresh start. And these individuals in front of us are talented, and we want to retain them, and we want them to give the ability to work for Brazos County as long as they wish. So with that, Godspeed. Let's hope that the data is exactly what we need to have, and we're looking forward to that early quarter 2026 to make a good decision and take care of our incredible team that we have assembled here. So thank you, TL.
My pleasure.
Commissioners,
Appreciate
anybody
y'all's
from the
involvement.
audience, I hate not to give you an opportunity. Aubrey and I discussed that there was none there, and it's a workshop, and you have ample time to visit with Siegel and the team and speak freely, honestly. This is about you all. We need your direct and honest input, and we're glad to be a part of this team.
Appreciate y'all. Look forward to our meetings over the next few days.
TL, thank you and your team, and
Thank you.
any further business? The only thing I will say is, as we talk about the opportunity for compensation and retention, the fair this weekend was a huge success, and that is not in any other part to the dedication of the team in front of us. Those of you that worked tirelessly, volunteered your time and vacation to be out there, it was comforting to see everybody's belief in that fair and working so hard and well together. We did have an employee break room, and it was a good stop, and it was good to see everybody relaxing and enjoying the fair. Mr. Wonderful, he and his love for pavement is duly noted as our parking attendant, but risk management, Jason, I mean, everybody I saw out there, Trevor and his family, Jennifer and Rihanna, Leslie, wow. Jackie, great job. We're adjourned.